and welcome to Manny's Makings. Today we're going to do a viewer request video. They were talking about how do you wire wrap around a cab. So this is actually not a cab. I didn't have a heart-shaped cab. I only had a heart-shaped bead. I have a couple of them. I don't have very many. So I thought I would just do something simple with a bead. You could adapt this to use with a cab because you could use the wires in a slightly different way, and I'll sort of explain that as I go. I haven't, this is a crate with me, so I haven't come up with all the full plan. I just have an idea in my head, and we're gonna see if it works. So I have 21 gauge both square wire and half round wire that I'm going to work with today. It's silver wire from ParaWire, and I'm just beyond making this one bend. I haven't done anything. I've cut off 3 pieces. It just feels like that's what I should do, so that's what I did. I took it approximately middle. Obviously it's not quite right now. Just before I go any further, a full list of materials and everything will be listed below under the show more button, so definitely check that out. And obviously this isn't being done on a really beautiful cab. This is just an acrylic bead basically, so but it'll give you an idea of what to do, and that's what the viewer requested. And I got some new little pliers. Look at it. Yay, some Zero pliers. I found them on sale, so I got some. So I'm all excited to try those out too, because I haven't used them much yet either. So, okay, let's get started. So I cut, I have my ruler out here, and you can see I cut like 8-inch pieces. I cut 3 of them. I don't know where I'm going completely, but I figure 8 inches is probably enough to go. I left my half round on the spool, or, you know, still rolled up, because I didn't want to cut off more than I needed, so I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet. So I figured I needed to have a V, and I could either put the V on this way, or I could put it on another way. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to actually put the V, this wire, up through the middle, and that's what, as far as I got, and went, okay, well, I will just shoot this. So I'm putting it up the middle. I'm figuring I have enough space in this particular bead. I don't know if you can see down the hole, but there's lots of space there, so I can get a second wire up there, so I can do 2 like this, and then the third wire I can make it go around the entire, I could twist this wire, I could do whatever I want with it. So I'm going to have some fun and see what ends up happening. So let's get started. So I took around the middle. It's not quite exact. I didn't do a perfect job of measuring. I sort of guesstimated and didn't guess perfectly. And I'm just going to start shaping this wire. I'm holding it against the bead and shaping it around the bead. Now this is fairly simple. You could do this with round wire as well, as long as both of them fit through the bead. And if you didn't have a hole in the bead, you could just do this to both sides. So you'd have the wire go through both sides. So I have the wire coming up through the bead. I'm going to move this wire that I'm molding into the front of the bead, in front of this wire. And I'm just pushing it around. I'm trying to keep this wire square as well, because this is flat wire. So I'm trying to keep it so that it's nice and square, and I'm not changing the, unless I intentionally want to do that. There we go. Okay, so I've got that side on. Now can I get another one in comfortably? Let's see. Yep, quite comfortably. So I can get another one in. Now these 2 wires at the top I'm going to turn into a bail. These ones I'm going to turn into decorations. And then I'm going to add a 3rd wire. Not sure where yet. So I need to bend this, so I need to figure out where I need to bend it. So I'm sort of getting these 2 so they're about equal at the top. Move this a slight. I put my fingers at the end of the bead, so I know where I need to bend it, and I need to bend it about here. Make sure the wire is square and flat in my pliers, and I'm going to bend it around. Okay, so I end up with the other side, and I'm going to work this in front of the other one. So again, I'm holding this towards the bottom of the bead, and again, this could be around the cabochon. You could just have a point, which I think the 3rd one's going to end up making the point. And I'm just trying to make sure this isn't twisted. And I can see that my wire is slightly twisted here, so I'm just going to untwist it. There we go. I have a nice flash that happens. I'm not sure if you're seeing that as I come around. And I'm being slow, and you know, a lot of people probably go a lot faster, but this bead doesn't have a nice flat edge on the edge here. It's like, this would be much easier if it had a nice flat edge, but it doesn't, so. Okay. So I want to bring these wires down further because I want them to attach to this before I do some decorations with it. But I want them to attach lower down so that it actually makes a full heart shape. And that's sort of what I envisioned in my head. So I'm going to bring this down so it, you know, and as I'm going and I'm moving wires like this, I can say, oh, that would be cool going across there, but, you know, don't want to do that. I want to keep things nice and flowy today. I tend to do tight stuff. Okay, so now we got to figure out where we need to bend this. So this has to come down and then up, right? This, whoops, this wire here. Let me zoom in a little bit. My camera's going to jiggle while I zoom, but there we go. We won't go in too tight today. Got the third wire. I'm just moving it out of the way. So I can see where the two other wires cross over. I've got my pliers there. I need to push this down into that sort of crook in the heart and then bend upwards. So is that the right space? No, I need to come back a little bit. Is that the right space? So I'm trying to get it to go in the crook without leaving a big gap of wire around the outside. It looks pretty good. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. I can unbend this a bit so that you can see what I'm doing, because I'm working with two wires. I could actually even take this out. There we go. We'll just take it out. It's in the way. So I'm looking to bend this so that this whole thing sits in the crook. So, and I'm getting used to these new pliers, so just so you know. Okay, so this is sitting. I can push this down now into the crook of this heart, and it's like sliding around everywhere. And then back up again. I'm creating a platform to use my half round wire to wrap around so that they don't move, and then I'm going to do some fancy stuff with the wires here. So it's not quite, when I hold this up, it's not quite going down into that spot enough. Not as much as I want it to go. So that wire is still ending up in front of that wire. So let's see if I can try to pick the right wire, move this out a little bit, because I want them to sort of sit beside each other. And this is how you just work your way through it. And will it be beautiful? Will it be perfect? Will it be exactly what I wanted? I don't know. We're going to find out as we go. And I'm so used to my old tools, this all feels funny. That's the other thing. When you get new tools, get them when you could afford them, get them, and then just use them. Don't use your other ones too. And I keep grabbing for my old ones because I'm really comfortable with my old ones. Okay, so there's one. They're sort of sitting beside each other. This can still move in it, which is fine because I'll do some other tweaking and some other things. Not sure what yet, but so now we can put this one back on. So we have the straight side, goes up the hole, and then the round side goes to the front. If I can keep this from swinging around, there we go. Round side's to the front. So I have, trying to keep my wires in order of some sort. So 1, 2, 3, that's the right order that they're, this one's, the third one in is the one that's coming through with this second wire here. And now I got to come around and pinch this one in where I want it to pinch in. Let me put it down on my board. It might be a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that's nice and tight at the bottom. Figure out where I want this to come up. I got to see it head on where I want it to bend. And I'm going to bend it up. Okay, so there's my fourth wire, or my fourth piece coming up the top. It's not quite in as tight and as tucked in as neatly as I'd like it to be, so I'm pushing down in there. Try not to warp these wires. And because these are actually silver, I don't want to have a lot of waste, so. And see how they're not even? I don't like that, so I gotta work on this. That looks a little bit more even. I'm a little bit more happy with that. So now I have them flat in my fingers. So while I have them flat on my fingers, I need to wrap this half round wire. Now the half round wire has a rounded side and a flat side, and you can usually see it by the flash. I'm going to put this down. See if I can show it to you. Okay, so if you look at this side, it has a major flash. Can you see how it's flashing? Quite a bit on my camera lights. You know, I can see it. Where this side doesn't have as much flash. It has a shine, but it is. So this is the super flashy side is my flat side. It just flashes more like the square wires here. Hey, that's kind of cool. 3D heart. Hey, so note to self. Okay, and I don't usually use flat wire or half round wire, so this is all something that I'm learning to play with, and I know there's a lot of other people who use these wires quite often and are quite comfortable with them. I am not. Okay, so I'm going to take off. I figure I'm not going to need any more than a couple of inches, so I'm going to cut that off. And these are I got new clippers too, so they're little micro clippers, so I can get into really tight spaces. All right, because I'm right-handed. Take my flashy side. There it is. Woohoo! And I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to wrap it around so make sort of like a U. And I don't have it at the one end. I have it sort of towards the middle. And I'm just going to tighten it down and tuck it a bit. I'm going to move it down. I just want to get everything so it's sort of laying flat on the piece. And then I could take my one end, and I'm going to wrap it around the 4 and bring it flat down beside the other one. So I have them together like that. And then I'm going to pinch it down so they're pinched down nice and flat beside each other. And now I can continue to do that both ways. So I'm going to go, up this way. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to these pliers. We'll see how I do. And then I'm going to hold it here while I bring this one around. So I'm holding it on the next one. You're holding the 4 pieces together. Bring it around nice and tight. Let's check the back. Yep, they're laying beside each other. Just want to make sure that I keep laying them beside each other nice and tight so that they look nice and smooth and they're beautiful. See, they're laying down perfectly smooth and beautiful. Bring it up nice and tight so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do that till I get them all on, and I'm going to probably use up most of the wire, if not all the wire, and I'm going to make sure it's good and tight, and then we'll come back. Okay, I'm back, and I just realized I don't have my 3rd wire in, so I finished wrapping the one at the bottom, but I stopped wrapping the last piece of wire up top here because I don't have my 3rd wire in, and I'm going to need to encase that as well. So find the middle on this one approximately. And I'm gonna make a bend again, just like all the other ones. I just put it in the middle, and in this case I'm just gonna push it up against one side of the pliers, and I'm making like a V. So I can do a couple things. I can put this on top, I can twist this, I can put this underneath, I can have it hang farther down with more of a V. And I think I kind of actually like that it hangs down farther. Then I can actually put a jump ring if I wanted and hang a gemstone or something. If this was a nice cab, it would be a great idea. So I'm going to leave it down a little further, and just because I feel like it. And now I have to start to bend it. So I'm going to just start bending it with my fingers this time. I'm just keeping it on the square so that the wire is laying flat. I'm going to try to hold everything down with my fingers and bend this slowly. around to make more of a heart shape. So I don't know if everybody can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can. Oh, bend it around and make more of a heart shape. Okay, so now I got to echo it on the other side. And bend it around to make a bit of a heart shape. Okay, so what's going on here? It's probably too far up. So I'm going to bend this. I'm just taking it and bending this down this way. And then I'm going to bend this one down this way because it was too far up. Sort of putting this over top, sort of getting an idea of how this is going to all go together. Okay. I think I'm pretty close to where I want to be. So I'm going to take the one side, and I need to bend it sort of in the middle. So I need to get these two together. I'm putting them together. Move this out of the way to help with the focus. Putting these two together, and I'm sort of flattening it a little bit right there where I'm going to bend them upwards. And you can actually take it and just stick your pliers in the middle. I just have to see it from the front and with the camera in the way. I can't quite get the front view. I'm trying to stick this towards the middle of all of this so I don't make a big hot mess. And I'm going to bend one up one way. See where I'm at before I totally blow it. So these are going to end up on either side of this heart. And they're not far enough down. So that bend I have to try to straighten out now, and that's going to be interesting. So I'm just going to, because I bent it too soon. So my nice flat pliers might help me, and I may not be able to get the bend out. And if I can't, then I'll have to do something else with the wire to use it. Oh, well, it's twisting. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to twist the wire from this point down to the, I'm going to, take it and hold it here, hold it at the bottom, and I'm going to just twist. Because that's going to hide my sin, and it's going to make a nice, so I'm just holding it flat, and I'm twisting it just to where the bend is at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that it's creating little, so I'm holding it in my pliers, and I'm twisting, and holding it in my pliers, and I'm twisting, and you can still sort of see where that weird kinky bend is. So I'm trying to take the bend out so it'll twist properly. Now I'm having trouble catching the wire properly. There we go. See if I can get that to twist there. Just taking my pliers and focusing it along. I'm much happier with that. I have a nice little twist, so I have to do the same to the other side now. So once I get that done, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I finished twisting it, and I sort of put it to the center, and as you can see, everything's still sort of moving around. And I kind of like that it gives more to the outside of the heart. And again, I'm just playing. How this ends up, where it's going to go, I'm not sure. But now I'm realizing I need to fasten this somehow to this other piece on the side. So I'm thinking I need just a little tiny piece of square wire and attach it here, or even like right here, and then right here on this side, just to sort of hold it in place. And I think I'm going to do that. So all I'm going to do is just take a little piece of my my half round wire, off, and I'm just going to cut myself a little piece, because I just need to make something just to wrap around a couple of times, and then I'm just going to take and make a U with the flashy side down. So sort of grab it almost to the middle, and I'm just folding it up to make a U to go around both the wires. And this is my little pin. And then I'm going to put the pin down in the square wire and then bring it around the braided wire. And yes, I can move the bead out of the way, so this is going to be a little bit easier still. And would this been easier to put the 3 wires together before I put the bead on? Yeah. And before I put the top on, yes. Some of you comment, but when I'm creating, I don't know it's going to be easier because I don't know where I'm going. So that's part of when you're creating something. Sometimes things are more difficult and you go, okay, well, next time if I do that, I'm going to do it differently because this would be so much easier if I did it this way. So just know that that's part of the creative process. You're going to do things and it's going to be awkward and it's going to be uncomfortable. And you're going to go, I could have done that 10 times easier. But as you're creating, you don't know that when you're creating, when you first start to create it, that's what's going to end up happening. So I'm just bringing this around. I've got 2 wraps on there now. So I just need to do one more wrap. And I'm finishing these flat wraps on the back side so that everything, I got to make sure they lay side by side. And right now I can't see both my wires, so I know that they're either too tight or I've got it twisted a bit. There. I wanted to see both my wires side by side. Make sure those are nice and tight. Push this down. Grab it and tuck it around. And when I grab it to tuck it around is when it's pulling the 2 wires together. So I'm just going to grab it from the back here. See if I can get it around without it twisting the 2 wires. Twisting the 2 wires back to where I want them. Okay, so that's at the back, that's at the back. There's 3 pieces fastening. Do I want to move it down at this point? Make sure it's nice and tight. Tweak it in. That they're all laying side by side and nice and flat. And then I'm going to bring this to the back, this last piece on the one side, just so that when I cut it off, it'll all be both in the back. And I'm going to push down. Okay, so before I go any further, I need to do one on the other side. And then I'm just going to cut these off at the back and then halfway through so that they pinch down right at the halfway mark, tuck everything, make it nice and tight and neat. And then I'll come back. Okay, so I'm back. I've got the 2 pieces attached here. I flatten them and tighten them so they're not moving. And now I want to move a couple of these wires out of the way. And I thought this would be kind of nice to go over top of the bail. So I'm going to take the 2 outside wires from the back 4, because there's 4 at the back. And I'm just going to bend them outwards to get them out of the way a little bit. So I'm going to flip it over so you can see. And I'm going to bend this one outwards because they're not going to be part of the bail. And I'm going to try to just wrap this wire that's left here. The little piece of half round that I was stopped in the middle of wrapping. I'm going to now wrap these ones around. So this is what I've got so far. The bead's still moving. Don't worry about it. I've got lots of wires to bring around the back and in the front. So all these pieces hanging up here, some of them are going to secure some of that stuff. So now I'm going to take it and just try to straighten out my wires, the twisted ones a little bit, so that they sort of run down the middle of those 2. I can see that I'm going to probably need a little bit more twist, but I'm going to wrap them in place for now. Again, this probably would be easier if I twisted them first, but I don't know that. So these are like 4 together, and I'm holding them like a big cube, and I'm just wrapping this around. And one of the reasons I know some of you like want to see everything, I can't. I visually have some visual impairments, and you guys probably have been watching me for a while, know that. So I tend to do some things off screen so that I can turn on this big, huge light that would blind you guys and magnify things 10 times for myself so I can actually see what I'm doing in a way that's a positive thing. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I have these all secured in. I'm going to tweak and bend them a little bit the way that I like them. So I don't like the space that this is all leaving here. So I'm going to push this first wrap down a little bit more towards the center. I'm going to move this in so I can push this wrap towards the center a little bit more. The first part of the wrap, the whole thing has to come down. Push in towards the center. So I'm just pushing everything in towards the center to bring it so there's not such a big space. There, I'm a little happier. Now I'm ready to cut this off at the back. And it's funny because my clipper color has changed. So I have to look for my nippers to find which ones they are because the color's changed. And I keep looking for the wrong color handle because my other ones were black handled, so I keep looking for the black handled guys, and you get used to stuff as you've been doing it for a while. So I have these two, just sorting out my wires. I have this one and this one, which are the square flat ones at the back, and I just want to make sure everything's sitting where I want before I squish it all down. And then I have the two twisted ones at the front that I got to twist a little bit more, so I'm going to just take them by the ends farther down. Where you grab them on is where the twist stops. So if you only want to twist them to here, which I don't think I'm going to need a lot for the bail, so maybe I'll put it here and I'll just twist a little bit. And you always do twist in the same direction, so I'm just grabbing them on a flat side and twisting them a little bit more to bring them to where I want the twist to stop. So I'm just grabbing where I want the twist to stop. So if you're ever working, it won't twist past the point you grab them at. So if you're ever working with wire and you want to do that, that's a way to know how far. Again, this one I twisted this way. So you just twist the same way as you were twisting before, otherwise you get this funky twist. So you can move farther down as you need it. So I think that's probably enough for me to do my bail. I need a little bit more twist on this one, just to make them look a little bit more even. There we go. And a little bit more on this one. I'm trying to make the twists, the amount of twists, to look all the same as they come up. I'm just twisting a little bit at a time. I'm only probably doing a quarter turn. On these ones, I could probably do a little bit more than a quarter turn. There we go. Okay, so those two come up. So now I got to make a bail. So this is when I usually grab a tool to do that with. My trusty spikes, my bail spikes. Use a knitting needle, a pen, whatever you'd like. And I'm thinking I want a smaller rather than bigger bail. So I want the twisted wires on the outside or on the top. So that's what I'm doing right now, is going, I could have them on the outside and that would look pretty cool because they would spread as they came up and around. So I'm actually going to put them on the outside. I'm going to do them all together. Bring them in and around till they touch the back of the stone. Make sure they're all level. So now this is what I have. I bring these in together, all four together. Stick my pliers on them where I think the bail should end. And I'm going to just pull these wires up one at a time to make the bend on the back side of the bail. And then I'm going to push in so that I have my nice bail. I'm going to pull this forward some because this needs to come forward. And it spreads the bail a little, which is fine because I'm actually going to do that. Just even that out. And when I tighten this, tie this together down here, I think I'm going to be good. Okay. So now I need to just wrap a piece again, and I'm probably going to bring the wrap from there down. So I'm going to wrap the whole thing. I'm going to tuck these in nice and tight, one at a time. I'm going to bring them in right up against this other wrap. This here has space in the front from the wrap, so I'm going to do the wrap with the half round, covering that space, so sort of from the joint up. So I have enough space for about 3 wraps in there. And I'm going to, include the back wires as well, and then I'm going to start the decorative process. Okay, so it's all secure. I've wrapped it around, tidied it up, make sure it was good. So I have the 4 pieces at the back, everything's secured there. I have the 2 pieces at the front. So I need to leave something on the back just to add some security. So I'm thinking I need to leave these 2 pieces here on the outside that are shorter, and I'll just make some little spirals, but they're not the same length. They're just one slightly longer than the other one. So I need to cut them around the same length. So this one just comes to the end of the bead. I'm just going to cut that off, get rid of that little piece of wire. And now I'm going to try my first spiral with these new pliers. Let's see how it goes. So the wires are still flat. I haven't twisted that part of them. So I'm just going to grab it near the end. And I'm going to spiral it up. And spiral it up. just to add something to the front and to the back, I mean, and I'm going to flatten these babies so that they lay nice and flat and don't catch on anything. Again, I'm going to just get on, I'm just getting under the bead and making sure this is all laying nice and flat. And that'll hold it on the back on that side. So let's do the opposite here. I'm going to grab a hold of them by the, I'm sort of grabbing the tip. I'm just trying to grab as close to the tip as I can. And I'm just bending it around, trying to match the other spiral. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's pretty close. So I just need to make sure that this is good and flat. Because of the gauge of the wire, I'm not worried terribly that it's going to come up. Just flattening it down against the bead. So now I have to do something with these two wires. I'm actually going to bring them over towards the front, and this one over towards the front. So I have 4 things that I can do something with. So I'm just taking my fingers at this point, trying to flatten the wire, making sure that it's got not too many terrible kinks in it. So what do I want to do? Well, I need some movement. And this is by itself is kind of cute. It's simple. It's easy. The actual, this is in here. If this was a cabochon, it wouldn't be in here. So it wouldn't be secure because the front isn't secure yet. Okay, let's move these 2 up and get them out of the way because I think I'm going to play with those last. I'm not sure why. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just maintaining the flat side, and I'm going to bring it up. Where do I want to bring it? What do I want it to do? So see, I'm playing now with the wire, trying to figure out what I want to do with it. Do I want it to come across here somehow? Do I want it to, you know, be really high up, as high as the bail, and make it even more of a heart? Do I want it to, and then spiral out the side, and then I can make this one a smaller spiral inside of here. So that's what my brain is doing. So I'm going to sit here and think for a few minutes, and I will come back when I figure out what maybe I want to do next. Okay, so I've come back with some ideas. I've been sort of moving the wires and bending them slightly. They're not tucked down and tight at all. Because this isn't a phenomenal cab. I want something across the front of it. So I'm just gonna have some fun, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna just curl this up. So I'm going to take this short little one. I brought it from around the back. I've left it loose, or it doesn't need to be fastened down anymore. It's fastened down good. I may go back and tie some of these ends down, but we're just going to take it and start a spiral. Again, I'm holding the wire so that it's not like I'm holding this wire down against the cab so that I can sort of push against the cab lightly as I'm coming around. So I'm bringing this around, So I have the spiral there. And then I'm going to do a spiral outward here on this other short one. Because the short ones I have the most limitations with. But these longer ones here, I could do whatever I want with them still. So I'm just moving it out of the way. So I'm going to take my pliers, put it this way. And I'm holding onto the wire now, and I'm spinning it. I'm just readjusting my pliers whenever I make a full spin, so that I can decide, do I want that there? I kind of like that there. I'm trying to do something a little bit more asymmetrical because everything else is really symmetrical so far. So, so let's bring this piece over. What the heck? And I'm going to take my thumb and put it against the wire, and I'm going to push with this thumb and push down with this thumb so it sort of stays where I want it there. So I'm still trying to keep the wire as flat as possible, so it's not twisting on itself. this over closer to this. Again, it's one of those, I like these first two, so now I need to figure out what to do with these ones. This one I think needs to come down here and have maybe a swirl towards the bottom. So I'm going to need to fasten this here. That one's this one I don't need to do anything with. It's fine the way it is. It's not going to catch on anything. So then I just need to figure out what to do with this wire. Because this one I'll take and I will have it mimic, I'll start it down a little bit lower. I'll have it mimic this one arch to some point, bring it towards the center some, and then swirl this way, and maybe have the swirl hang out on the outside as well. So I just got to figure out what to do with this one. And it's starting to twist on itself a little bit. So I don't want it to twist, so I'm just grabbing a hold of the flat side and sort of bringing it around so it stays flat. The flat side stays flat. So that, see how it's, the flash is kind of, it's bending a little bit, so I got to straighten it out. And I'm relying on a touch and visual cues like flashing and stuff, because I can't actually see and I don't want to mar the wire, so I'm just being gentle. Just try to keep it flat as possible. So now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to spin it. I'm going to go back and around. Let's move it back first. So I'm going to bring this out. I'm just bringing it around. Yes, I like that. So I'm going to bring this around so that it comes up more, even more closer to this one here. And so it's sort of decorating the front of my heart. And then I'm going to bring this in, and then I make a spiral at the end here. So I'm going to take the end, I'm going to spiral it this way. Again, I'm holding the wire secure with my, not secure, but so that it's not like flopping around everywhere. It's sort of against the, I'm going to bring this in tighter. Bring this in tighter. I don't like how loose this is. Keeping to the flat side. Now my spirals are open to that point, so I'm not sure if I like this one being closed. Yeah, I don't like it being closed, so I'm going to snip it off so that it's open. I know, I'm breaking all my rules. So I'm just taking a little tiny piece off so that it's open, and it changes the look completely once you open it. It just looks like scroll work versus being sort of ugly. So I'm going to bring this down for my start of this. And I can see it's a little bent here, so I'm going to try to flatten that out a bit. And again, I'm using my thumb to sort of manipulate the wire, trying to keep it flat by holding it between 2 points. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. I like that, I like that. So now I got to do something with this. And just the angle of this whole thing looks funny. Up top here. So I can bring this underneath this one, fixing the wire a little bit as I go, tweaking it to make me happier. See how it's kind of kinky mucky? So I'm going to clean that up and probably do a spiral in this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to come in first or if what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to clean that up first and I'll come back. Okay, so I've cleaned up something, just tidied up this little loop a little bit, tucked this in a little tighter so there's more equal space in here, and this wire was coming around. I cleaned up the top of this a little bit, and now I'm bringing this in, and I just did a big open spiral here, and I can tuck that in here. So it sort of hangs halfway out, halfway in. But again, the wire's just a smidge too long. So I'm going to just take it and cut it a little bit. I'm just taking a little tiny piece off so that it is good to go. And I'm going to just bring this in a little bit tighter here. So it's actually going underneath this one. And sorry about that, my phone is buzzing. I need to just shut it up. There we go. My other phone, the one I don't use for filming. So I'm going to need to fasten a couple of places. So I need to fasten, and I do like this. I think it's quite a modern design. It's very different looking. It's fun. You know, I need to figure out exactly where I want all these little loops to be. But I'm thinking I need to connect these two loops at the bottom here. Or maybe not. I don't think I'm going to connect them. I'm going to just connect to the outside here and the outside here. This one will be okay as long as I tuck sort of this end down, and then I'll just fasten it with a couple of wraps probably right here. And this one's completely fine, so this is what I have on the back. This is what the front looks like. And actually, either way, it could flip over. It would be kind of fun. So this is more of a modern, I don't even know what you'd want to call it, because I don't have a beautiful bead. If I had a beautiful cabochon, I might choose to do it differently, but I'm just playing here, having fun. So I would probably use some 28 gauge, some 26 gauge, maybe even 28 gauge would be better. Just tiny little wraps. So I'm going to just take some scrap pieces of 28 gauge. This is 26, so I'm going to find my 28 gauge, and I'm going to wrap a couple, and then I'll come back and show you how to do one of the wraps so that you know how to do the rest. And we've had fun for today. So if you know how to do that part, you can just finish for now. See ya. Okay, I'm back, and we have one. This one is the last one. This one's been, I've secured it down right here. And this one I secured down right here. Just the one wire with the 28 gauge, which is really fine. So it's not like in your face. It's like super fine, 28 gauge. So I've used square wire, 21 gauge, and I've used a half round wire, 21 gauge, and now I'm using 28 gauge wire. So now I need to secure this down. Now, do I want it over here, touching this one, or do I want it over here? So let's take a look from the front. If I put it this way, everything sort of stays to the one side. If I put it this way, it splits it up. I think I'm actually going to go this way, and even if you hang a jump ring at this point and hang a gem of some sort, it would be cool. So I'm going to take it over here. So that means I'm going to attach it to this wire here. So I take a piece. This becomes my tail, the one I'm holding on to. And I hold on to a piece of that wire, and then I bring it around. And I bring it back down the hole of the two. I'm actually trying to just go around that one twisted wire at the back there. And then when I grab a hold of it, I can pull and see how it brings it in. Brings it in nice and tight. Now, I can stop for a second and reevaluate and go, do I like it there? Do I not like it there? Where would I like it to be? So I'm like, I think I need it to come down further. I'm not sure I like it there, so I'm going to have to split it up. I'm going to do it on this side. It sits too close to the other one, and it doesn't look good. So see how I only have the one wrap, so I can move it around, and I can pull tight again. Hold on to the tail. And all I'm doing is laying down wire one after the other around this one loop and this twisted wire on the inside here. See the twisted wire? I'm just putting it down around, and I'm just making sure that it stays inside of there and that they lay next to each other so there's space. Come on, focus you. There we go. Supposed to be autofocus, but it's not autofocusing. So I can tell that I'm going to need like 3 or 4 wraps to get this to lay the way that I want. So I'm going to do 3 around both. No, I'm not. 2 around both. And now I'm going to do, this one's my tail, so I'm just going to move it out of the way. I'm going to do 2 just below it on this one, on the twisted wire, to keep it from shifting down. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's going to keep it from moving around past where I want it to be. So I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to bring this up as tight as I can to that one. Bring it around one more time. I don't want to go any more than 2 because I don't want it to get in the way of anything that might be. And I'm going to just tighten this up. Just squishing it to that wire to this wire, and now that actually just broke it off because it hit the edge of the twisted wire. So let me just double check on that. Okay, so yeah. So I'm just tucking it in tighter. Made sure that I just tucked, there was a little tail end there that I brought around. This 28 gauge wire, when you pull and yank, you can pull and yank it, like it'll cut itself against something else that's sharp. And this edge of this twisted wire, it's not that it's sharp, but for this 28 gauge wire, it is acting that way. Does that make sense? So I now have my tail. So what do I want to do with my tail? Do I want to do the same thing? Do I want to bring it around? So I think what I'm going to do is bring this around. So I'm going to bring it down and in. So it'll appear as 3 wraps on the front, which is what all the rest of them do. But now I'm going to wrap it around underneath against the wire on this twisted wire on this side. Since the other one broke off on me, I just want to make sure I'm good and secure. So I'm just bringing this around and tucking it in. I do better with my fingers than I do with a tool. I can control the wire better, and I'm not sure why, but maybe because I started with very few tools and I had to do a lot of it with my hands. And so, I mean, the tools are great for grabbing in these types of spaces, but I didn't start with tools. So a lot of tools. I had cutters, obviously, and I think I had 1 pair of pliers and a round nose pliers. I think I didn't have straighteners. I didn't have anything. So I had to learn how to do all this kind of stuff with very minimal tools. So I just couldn't afford them at the time. And I slowly built up. So this is my last time around. I'm just bringing this around, putting it back down through that hole on the other side here. And then I can catch it on the other side and pull. So now I'm ready to cut it off. And I always cut towards the back side really tightly, almost tucked in. And then I can feel it and then smooth it across so there's nothing there. So we have this really interesting pendant. I'm just going to zoom back out a bit so you can sort of see it better, and hopefully, wrong direction. See if I can get it to focus a little bit better. So this is the pendant I ended up with a heart inside. It's more modern and different looking. I think this would look lovely on a piece of silver chain, or even on something as simple as a sort of a braided leather cord. It would be kind of fun. At this point, if you wanted to, you could add beads, you could add other things. I wanted to just basically show you some basics. So the first step that I did, at that point, if you wanted to, you could cut off some of these wires and just do, you know, little spirals or very little minimal, or just wrap it around the centerpiece to secure it and call it a day. They could have come from around the back, came around back to the front and secured it. You could do all kinds of things. As you can see, this is quite delicate looking, but it's sturdy. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to catch on anything. And I'm quite happy with that. I think that's quite fun and something different that's not out there. That's part of the problem, is some of the things I thought of. I took a quick look to see, and I was like, it's already out there. So I don't want to do something that 15 other people are already doing. So this is something different. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something about just going for it and seeing what happens. And whether you guys love this video or don't love this video, that's fine by me. I hope that you learn to play with your wire and have some fun with it. And take care and keep on making from Manny's Makings. Bye-bye.